Hey folks, there's probably, well, at least when I go to do the recording, I'll edit it out, but my work laptop's got to be running for probably a few days to pull a branch to give you an idea of how big the scale is of some of the stuff there. Last time we were talking about the need for an inventory, so we're going to do that. We're going to make an inventory, a visible one. We already have the code in the background. And then I finally got my... Whoa, that was loud. Finally got my tablet doodad all hooked up. I can start making terrible drawings for the meantime until I get better at it, and then maybe they won't be terrible. We've got a little bit of tea here, even less there, but we'll survive. Let's see what we can accomplish in next hour or so. I think that'll be good. Yeah, well, whatever. We'll go with what we got. So, quickest, easiest way to do this, since we still haven't fully settled on how we're gonna do the full UI, I have a feeling that it's going to be based on the... we'll have probably a single canvas, and then all the other UI will actually just be elements in it, because we don't... Realistically, we're not going to make anything clever enough on the first pass of UI to actually want to reuse it later in a separate project. So I'm just going to go with that mindset. But for now, we want to actually finish the work, just so we can go through. Let's see here. That's not the one I want to copy. This one is. So basically, we just want to kind of go through and... Oh, interesting. So that... And then these individual things... Right. Well, sure. We'll just do that. That's fine. So we'll get rid of that object. Get rid of everything in here. And what we currently have... is the event listener, so we also need an inventory. So we'll do that. We'll create a... and I'm actually going to stop using the word GUI, I think, as much fun as it is, and just start saying UI. One less letter. And, yeah, we'll go from there. There you go. Frame wasn't quite wide enough. Alright. So we grab our inventory script, drop it on here. And what do we need to know to work through this? Well, we need our item data. We need our item catalog. And I'm not sure if we need much else. Like, there's probably a game data field. We'll still go with the basic GUI backdrop, even though we probably aren't going to be using it much longer, or at least not in the way that it currently exists. But that's totally fine. This will give us, it gives us a foundation to build off of, and we already know that it works, so. Let's see, game data, item catalog, and we will create an empty. This is our toggle body for now. Because again, that's how we're doing it right now. Nothing super special, but it gets the job done. So within this container, we're going to have the item grid. And that item grid is likely going to be, let's say, 950 tall, 1200 wide. I think that's, well, we'll go with 10,000 tall. That's, yeah, that should be good. It's nice. even space, and then grid layout group. Now we're gonna have the cell size will be defined, which is fine. That also means when we go to make the item cells, which we can do now, these will be a specific size. We'll pad in 50 from left and right, 50 from up and down. We should see, yep, it's moved in a bit. We could probably make it, so if that's 100 off, that takes us to 1100. That's not super, there you go. So let's do 11 by 11. Ooh, that's too big. All right, so 1000 by 1000 for now, probably works. Basically what I'm thinking for the cell size is that would reduce each side to 900, both 900 width and height. And then if we wanted to have, let's add an image to this so we can actually physically see these things. Add some padding. One, two, three, four, five, six. Five, that looks better. It's 4 across, but there's an enormous spot here. Ooh, I'm liking that. Nice. Okay, so that's 5 by 5, so 25 items per page currently. That's pretty darn good. So we'll get rid of all but the top one. And then let's see what we can do here. So an item cell is going to feature a few different things. First, we've got the item picture, which you can put right about there. Or item icon, whatever you want to call it. We have a text mesh pro that we need to do. Set that just to black for now. Auto size, please. Guess technically if we do it that way, that should be better. And this is our item name actually being over the item makes a lot of sense, like right here. So we got the item name, and then we need count, item count, or quantity, whichever word fits your fancy. I'm gonna go with count just so I don't misspell something on video. And that seems pretty efficient. I don't really need to write the word prefab on the end. We know what that is. So now we can go into our inventory and add that. Oh, actually, we need a script on it first. Okay, so for our script, we need a few things. Private Unity engine. Oh, not private, sorry. Using Unity engine.ui. We need using TM Pro. And I think that's it. So we got private image icon. Serialize that. Private text mesh pro UGUI. Name. Oh. Item name, private text mesh pro UGUI, item count. Count is fine. Okay. And then we will have a public void init. And in this init, we're going to pass through an item datum. And while we're at it, we're going to actually store that in this as well. So that takes care of that. And then we're going to say this. Oh, right. Oh, they got me. Do you see that? How they capitalized it for me? They almost made me do it the right way. Oh my goodness. How would we ever sleep at night knowing that I used the proper coding standard? I know I sure wouldn't. Icon.sprite equals item datum dot. Oh, we actually don't have art available on them? Oh, right, that will be in the item catalog. So, hold on. Item, okay. Ah, we actually need, do we need both? We need one to get the stats and the other one to get the, yeah, okay. And then item info, and then we've got this dot, or icon.art, sprite, sorry, equals item info dot art. Item name dot text equals item info dot name. Item count dot text equals item datum. Item datum dot count, and that's dot toString, and I don't expect it to actually be, yeah, it should be an integer, so we don't need to worry about that. All right, I think that's everything for this one, other than filling out the fields over here. So icon, oh, we didn't need to zoom in on that. That's actually kind of bright, blinded me. Icon and count, so now that's all set. And we come back over to our inventory UI, and we've got private item cell UI is a item cell UI prefab, and then private list item cell UI. Because as I've stated before, this is sort of our temporary solution. We'll come back and do it all better later. We just want it to be functional so we can get work done. This allows us to quickly and easily generate a grid of these items, and then anytime you close and reopen, we just nuke it and make a new one. Nothing special. We don't currently have more than 25 items. We actually only have 2, so we don't need to worry about pagination or anything like that for now. But, yeah. So we could say when we init for int I equals 0, I is less than item data dot count. For each one of these, we are going to check the item catalog dot get. Oh, so we have a type of cutlery, but that isn't actually... So when we go and look at our items, which I believe is in here. Yeah, so we would be looking them up by name, not by type. item type is currently in, it is in there, but it is serialized, or not serialized, so we're not actually setting it on our items. So I suppose we don't need this, we need spoon and fork. And we should make a note for ourselves later. Later, this should be subtype, and we should have a super type for filtering. So you'd have cutlery, and then the subtypes would be the kinds of cutlery that you have. But we'll just do this for now. Then we can go back. Maybe. Yes, cool. Spoon and fork. Back into the code. This is fine, we don't need... Oh, whatever. I guess I wrote it, I might as well use it. So, item data dot data... Oh. What do I have? Products. That'll work. Find item where item.name is equal to item data dot data item name. We got there, team. We got there. It just took a moment. Item info equals this, and then the item equals data dot data I. And we'll move that up one. We'll actually, whoops, we'll actually pass that through here. And then we can, we don't have the container parent yet. Cell UI parent. So we'll grab that, save that. We're gonna actually take care of it before I forget this time, because I forgot so many times the last time we were streaming. And that's right here. That's this. Oh, and we haven't set the prefab yet, so we can apply this. That's all fine. Delete. There we go. Save. Head on back. And now we're just gonna say item cell UI prefab. Prefab equals instantiate the prefab. And the parent is going to be item cell UI parent, and instantiate in world space is false. Not that it actually matters, because it's going to get words. It's going to get childed to an object that has a layout group on it, so it'll get moved anyways. All right, let's see. That is because it is currently a object instead of prefab. Okay. There we go. What do you got going on here? There you go. Okay. And then item cell UIs dot add prefab. And at the top here, we're going to say item cell UIs dot for each IGO destroy IGO.gameObjects. We haven't initted it yet. Item cell UIs dot init. Wait, where are you? Prefab.init. And we're going to pass through item datum and item info. And that should be it. Let's find out. Can he do it? Can he get it on the first try? I'm gonna try. But, we don't want it to maximize on play anymore. That was such a mess last stream. One sec, let me turn this off. Alright, so we got our canvas. It's blank because there's nothing on it yet. And we init, and we do get a null reference error, but now we can figure out why. Line 28, it says. 28 on item cell.init. Well, that's a pickle, because 28 is the end of the script. Ah, okay. Set properly. Oh, nope. I immediately know what's going on. Well, I assume I'm expecting that this is returning a null value. So let's go find out if I'm right. It wouldn't surprise me, because it was too good to be true to have everything just kind of work. And there's nothing to wait on here. Let it do its compile. Okay. So, canvas, init. Yes, okay, so item info is null. So it was looking for... Which one are we on? I is 0. So we're looking for fork. And products only contain spoon. All right. That'll do it. Where are my catalogs? What? Oh, right. I made a new grouping area. I'm gonna fix that real quick. Universal folder catalogs. And then we're gonna put in our SO catalogs. And our prefab. Whoop, come on. Come on. Let me click you. That's better. Okay. So now when we hit init, it should work. And it did. We got 2 and 1. We can go check our data. Sure enough, we got 2 and 1. That was easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now, obviously, we'll want to add, well, you know, backdrop, something that says inventory, stuff like that later. We also need some way to open and close this window. So we will create a Text Mesh Pro button. Give it the old F treatment, he says, and then he double clicks it. Nothing is real. And we'll put a handy dandy X on it. Make it as red. Whoop, nope, not that one. Make the button itself as red as can be. Once we switch to a sprite, and we can use item circle gray, sounds good to me. Set native size. Change that color to red. Yeah, that's fine. Give it the old whoop. The old shrinky dink. Yes. Oh my goodness, that is a tiny X. Alright, Chief, let's make this a bit bigger. Okay, that's a bit too big. 3? Yeah. Oh boy, that's bright and huge. There we go. Less excessive. Give it the old beige treatment. Ooh, that looks cool. Filled. Sorry, sliced. Again, not the best solution for these, but these are completely temporary and just so we can work. Ooh. I was curious what it did. Nothing super exciting. Okay, so we did all that. We made sure to do it without being in play mode, so hooray for us. Oh, lordy lord. So now I need to add a game event. Call this, I've been using on a lot for things that, like, I don't know. I feel like it's more they're happening, but I understand that you're reacting to them. I don't know. I feel like I use the tense wrong on these things, but suppose it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. There we go. And if we hit play, we can init. We see our inventory items on our list. And if we click the X, it closes. Cool beans. Now, we need to add a button for showing it. Go into our debug canvas. Call this one show inventory. Change the text to reflect that. Game event UI on open inventory. Alright. Then we'll come back over to our inventory canvas. Add a new event for it to listen to. It'll listen to the on open. And as we've so often done, we'll attach the game object here. And we'll init and toggle the canvas. So now we'll give that a try. Cool. Turns off, whoop. Ah, whoopsie. Clear. At least again, it's an easy thing to solve. Cool, so that's working again. We can see all our items, we can close it. Obviously we got the raycast enable and disable stuff, which we'll be changing down the road anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. So yeah, now if we take this and we complete the quest, we can see that we now have 2 and 3 instead of 1 and 2. We could probably build in some sorting features, some sort of filtering and that sort of stuff. Don't know if we necessarily need that right now. So we've got room selection, which I think is actually broken currently, isn't it? Yeah, I think so. Show room selection. Nothing is currently listening for that. So if we go back and look at our room selection canvas, oh, interesting. Yeah, so our room selector should be listening for a different event. And if we go look at this, does it need to initialize too? It does. All right, so that's working again. Cool. All right. So that was a quick fix. Must have been when I was redoing the event system. So we got a room select. Oh, well, we still got something to fix here. room cells dot add prefab, and then up here room cells dot for each rc destroy rc dot game object room cells dot clear. Again, not clean, not good. It's not how you should be doing this, but we're just trying to make it functionally work so that we can come back to it later, because we don't really know what the design of the UI will look like, and you shouldn't over-engineer things in general, but you definitely don't want to over-engineer them while you're still working on stuff. So obviously this window would actually probably eventually get consolidated into the inventory window, if that's how we're going to do it. We also, I suppose the next thing we should be approaching is some kind of store window. Let's think about this real quick in our minds. We're going to open up since I'm not even using it right now, it's just kind of a debug file. We're going to go through our steps real quick. So, game starts, camera pans across the manor, and fades while zooming at the mansion. Fade back in just off screen from the mansion. Player is walking towards it. You meet grandfather in the main and currently only room. He's standing there with two weird looking cats. Moosecats, duh. Explains to you that the rest of his mansion has gone on vacation, including all of his little friends. Well, nearly all. Tells you that would love to go find them all himself, but sadly life has other plans. Entrusts to you? Did I spell that right? Let's find out real quick. Well, apparently that's the name of a bank, but let's see here. Ah, it is a common spelling, but it is not what I will use. There we go. Oh, hello, Vixie. Hope life's treating you well. So he entrusts to you his adventure book. It's a lot lighter than you'd have imagined. So at this point, you have the adventure book, but the way that's going to be presented on the screen is we reveal in the bottom right a little adventure book icon. This is the only UI at this point. So since I think you came in as I started doing this, this is me going through the steps of the game real quick to see what we're missing for sort of basic UI and stand-in buttons and stuff, so that we can then start fleshing out things. So at this point you have the adventure book icon. Clicking this will reveal the adventure UI. As we know, closing the room selection window, you would then see a series. Well, you'd only see one adventure thus far. I like it. Yeah, it's named after one of our cats. Her name is Artemis, but that over time stretched out to Moose. And yeah, so there you go. It's a an inevitable conclusion to anything with a long name. I was gonna go see October documents, or sorry, pictures. Let's see if I can find one for you. Ah, yes, this will work. We will copy it. Where'd it go? It went into here. We're getting there. We're getting there, team. Here's probably fine. Yeah, so there she is. Sweet little thing. That's her sitting in my lap, yes. Same desk, different location, because that looks like a hardwood floor, so that would have been at our last place. But yeah, she's, sweet as sunshine, always pestering me in the mornings. Whenever I have my office meetings, she makes sure to pester me and to put her butt on camera. So clicking this will reveal the adventure UI. The UI at this point will contain a single adventure, something cute and simple like going to the grocery store. Select that adventure, which, as we know, will bring up the adventure editor window, which we have, but we need to make a better one of. You can then send the two moose cats on this adventure. At this point, you can either watch it unfold in our little preview window, or you can exit the UI and click on Grandfather. This will have some optional dialogue, perhaps hinting more towards the mystery of the missing mansion. Alright, on the right side of the screen, we have our adventure node showing the progress of the adventure. You can either click this icon or click the buttons in the adventure window if you still have it open to complete the adventure. Completing this adventure will return the moose cats to the manor with some items. Now we need to decide what those items are going to be. I'm thinking some kind of food. Because one thing about Moose, she may be small, but she has an insatiable appetite, and if you don't feed her, she'll make sure you do. Some kind of food, which you will give to the two moose cats. Little hearts will pop up over their heads. Because I love that mechanic in games. We've been playing the Pikmin game on the phone and planting flowers all over the neighborhood. And it's really cute when you give the Pikmin food because they occasionally will get little hearts over their head. And if you get them enough affection, they will run off and bring back presents, which is something we'll probably do here. In fact, if it weren't for the fact that I've been working on this game for longer than that game has been announced or existing, there's a lot of similar things. Or at least similar concepts, which is good for me because it gives me something to look at and sort of see if there's some better way that I want to do the whole design. With the moose cats happy, one of them will reveal another piece of paper. How to word this? Basically, it's another piece of paper from the adventure book. This is one of the many missing adventure sheets. Now, this next adventure, so at this point, we've established part of the UI. We've established that you can send things on adventures. We've established that when they come back from adventures, they'll give you items. We've established that giving items to things has some sort of effect. So now, we need to expand on the next set of mechanics. So this new adventure will go much further than the grocery store. I'm thinking this may be the Great Forest, since it's something I keep using in the demo stuff. Moosecats to the Great Forest. So this adventure will take longer than the grocery store. Probably 120 seconds, something like that, at least for the first time. And we can have difficulty levels and things as we go along that would be longer and longer than the previous ones. And additionally, we'll have that little progress window of the Moosecats marching along and you getting a sense of maybe what they're seeing, something along those lines. We'll have to see how it works as we go along, because obviously you have to make it. Like, the coding side of it is whatever, but you have to make it for art-wise. So, the Moosecats will return from this adventure, bringing with them some new supplies. Let's say, do we want to introduce equipment first or new rooms? What a great question. Or do we want to introduce a store of some kind? No. Huh. Yeah, bringing with them... Oh, let's go with an egg. Bring with them an egg. An egg and a note. The note is from a Moosecat that they met in the woods. Tells you that their new friend couldn't come back as they are having too much fun, but they wanted to leave you a parting gift. So we probably want some kind of incubation system. So well, walking distance for a Moosecat, so these little critters are magical. Oh, the store, yeah. Well, I definitely rant enough about where things should be, but that is probably true. So that'll be one of the things. If we have multiple map screens, one of them would likely be the town just down the hill from the manor, and one of the things that would be there would be the store. And what you would buy there would be supplies for things like building the rooms, and I don't know, maybe we'd have multiple stores, one for room supplies, one for food and stuff like that, maybe an equipment shop. I like that, that's a good idea. Town map just south of the manor map. Includes shops for food, non-consumables, room materials. So non-consumables would be something like equipment. room materials, and I don't remember what other words I said, but we'll go with that for now. Basically, it'll have those sort of things. Initially, I wasn't planning to have a character you could control, per se, but I'm realizing as I go along that that may actually be pretty sweet. Just letting you walk around and like walk through the rooms and stuff. And that also gives me a focal point for the camera, because if the camera is focused on your character while you're walking around, that's how you can see more things. Whether or not we'll have camera rotation, I don't know, because that's actually that sort of stuff. While I've got support for it already in version control, whoop, itchy face. While I've already got support for it in version control, it's surprisingly complicated. A good camera is really hard to do, and it's something that nobody notices until it doesn't work. And then once they notice it, because it's not working, they are very, very mad. Speaking from experience as somebody who gets very mad at bad cameras, and from experience of trying to make a good one and failing miserably. So, okay. So yeah, Vixie, that's perfect. You get this new egg and a note telling you that they can't visit. Grandfather will point out that we need an incubator of some kind for our new friend. He will mention the town south of the manor. So then the user will walk 2 screens south, which obviously that means the next thing I might want to do is just a simple hookup of a character for moving around. That won't happen tonight, but that could be my next goal. Should not be too bad. The user will walk 2 screens south. The first screen is the manor. The second is the town. I cannot imagine on any plane of existence this getting as detailed as something like Stardew. It probably will just be 2 maps. And we'll probably also add in UI buttons. Matter of fact, let me make a note of that. Also, fast travel UI buttons to either. Whether or not you'll immediately have those, I don't know, but we'll probably want to do that. The incubator can be found at the equipment store, probably. And they'll give you the first one for free. How nice. Either they'll give it to you for free or grandfather will give you some money. I kind of like the idea of them giving it for free, though. Yeah, it's easily one of my favorite games ever, so. I'm so excited for the Haunted Chocolatier. And I can't wait for that. It's gonna be so good. Even if it's not, I'm still gonna really enjoy it, because I just love sort of the slice of life stuff that he does. It's also my generally my favorite medium, I think, is slice of life stuff. I honestly have no idea. The only news I have is the stuff we saw in that video, that preview trailer. Otherwise, I don't know anything about it. And I'm probably going to do similar to Stardew, where I'm not going to know much about it before I go in. Because with Stardew, I made sure to avoid all spoilers. I didn't read any guides when I started. And to this date, I still haven't read a lot of guides. Like, any of the new stuff I don't know about, so I got to get back and play that. But alright, so the incubator will be found at the equipment store. This is also another action item for us. We could hook up the incubator system so we can make a Moosecat egg and then hook up the system for it gestating and then spawning. So that's good. So this gives us an action item. Actually, we have a few action items. So the first action item is action item make eggs. Oh, this, well, this particular iteration of it, I can actually tell you really accurately. Off and on, I've gone through this idea a few times now, and in the past, what has happened is I've gotten sort of overwhelmed by it, or just by work or life or something like that, and so I've stopped. And this particular time, I've just decided just to keep plugging forward, even if, and I've mostly met it, but even if I have a day where I don't really feel like doing anything, I still just kind of sit down and start working on it, because I usually feel better by the time it's over. But this started on the 14th of September for this particular iteration. And so of this year. So my goal is to have the full vertical slice done by the end of December. We'll see how that goes. Time is flying a little bit, but I think if I keep at it, it'll happen, or I'll be close enough to be happy with it. And once the vertical slice is done, then I want to sort of shift into starting to make more and more art for it and getting sort of a feel. The general emotional feel I want to get from it is sort of a warm, eternal holiday sort of atmosphere. Like the manor itself, the main room, and any of the non-elemental rooms will have sort of a lot of rich red woods, and you can almost feel like if you were there, that while it would be biting cold outside, you would know that it's nice and warm and toasty inside. And then I want the music to similarly be very calming, slow, something that you could kind of fall asleep to for the most part. And yeah, so that's going to be the general idea of the whole thing. Is again, and sort of similar to the mentality of Stardew, just having an experience that doesn't require major tragedy or whatever to move it along. Which, you know, is a nice thing, because we've got enough of that in the world these days. So yeah, action item, make eggs. Action item, make town a map, make manor map. First iteration will just be UI buttons, very likely. And action item, make incubator status. Yeah, and that's kind of the things that I'm hoping to also capture is a sense of weirdness. So, I'll give you some backstory on the story. The intro to this game, as we finish it, is which you kind of saw in the text up there. But basically, you get a letter from your grandfather. Says, you know, do you want to come hang out, see what life's about, that sort of thing. And when you get there, you've known for a while that he was this rich adventurer who traveled the world and did all sorts of cool stuff. And but because he was so busy all the time, you never really saw him. Like anytime you got letters from him or pictures, it was always somewhere else that you couldn't really reach. And so you're excited to go see him. And when you get there, you're a little bit surprised, because you can see when you walk onto his manor that the mansion is mostly missing. It's got one room that's there, but there's otherwise sort of this like weird sort of glowy effect or something around it. Like where the rest of the manor was, it's now gone. You still see the foundation, like or the dirt, but it's missing, and there's sort of this mystical quality that your eyes can't quite process. And when you walk into the one room that is there, he's standing there and he's all kind of jolly, and he explains to you that he was a little bit disingenuous with his letter to you. It wasn't necessarily just that he wanted to see you, but that some shenanigans are afoot and his mansion is missing. And so what he wants you to do is sort of take up his mantle and start going on adventures. Now, obviously, initially, he's explaining to you that one of his major aids when he was going on adventures was these little cats that he met on one of his quests. and he doesn't quite know yet, like, what to sort of have you, like, how much danger can you put another family member in for something like finding your house. And so what'll happen is your character will keep sort of poking at him to find out what you need to do so that you can go on the adventures just like the cats do. And once you manage to convince him enough, that will be one of the features it'll unlock. Not only can you send Moosecats on adventures, but your character itself will be able to go on the adventures as well, with them or alone, whichever they prefer. And as you go through these adventures, you'll slowly uncover what happened to the mansion, and also bring back the rooms. And the rooms of his mansion are sort of inspired by the Winchester house, just not for any morbid reasons. If you've never been there, the Winchester house, I believe it was the widow. She, if memory serves, I think this is who it was. She was really paranoid that the ghosts of all the people killed by the Winchester rifles were coming after her, and so she just kept endlessly building this place. And there were all these weird doors that would lead into nowhere, or stairs that would go up to nothing. And so that sort of weirdness is something I want to capture with the mansion, which is these individual rooms have been warped per se by the Moosecats. So you could walk into a room and it is just eternally freezing. Like there's icicles coming down from the ceiling, and the walls are just caked in like inches of thick ice. Or you could walk into a room and there's literally flowing magma going like through the center, and yet somehow it doesn't burn the wood on either side, and it doesn't cause the whole place to burn down. And each of these rooms will have sort of these extreme weirdnesses, and yet they can exist beside each other. So if you place the ice room and then the magma room right beside it, they're fine. Like, it, for whatever weird mystical reason, they're okay. And that in a little bit is inspired by one of my favorite mechanics from an old RPG game. Let me see which one it was. I think it was Legend of Mana. Might not have been. Yes. Okay. So in Legend of Mana, you could place down the tiles of the map you were going to be in, and you could sort of position them any way you wanted. So you were building your own world map, and that's what's going to probably happen here, is that you'll be allowed to put them anywhere you want, and I may even allow the player to pick them up and move them, because sort of this idea of a mansion that's ever shifting really fits the narrative. Because even the book that your grandfather gave you, as you flip the pages and more content is added to it, they change. And so while you may look at a page and see a certain bit of information today, as more adventures happen and you start finding more Moosecats, something like, say, the Great Forest, you may notice that when you go to that adventure page, that it now features extra quests, and you didn't write them, you didn't add them, grandfather didn't write them or add them, they're there. And yeah, so that's the gist of it, with obviously the end goal being finishing the mansion and figuring out what the secret was. But assuming things go well, yes, exactly. Every room will be its own biome. There will also be rooms that aren't so extreme. There'll be things like the incubators that we just talked about. There will be an incubation room that you can make, and when you make it, then you could start producing your own incubators. You won't have to make them or buy them at the store. You'd have a room for like not a cafeteria, but you may have a cafeteria, but like a kitchen. That's the word. You have a kitchen where you can make food, because if you feed the Moosecats, they'll be happier. And if they're happier, you know, they'll do things quicker, or come back faster, or be tired for less long, that sort of thing. And one of the things that we've discussed that'll come up later in this sort of breakdown of the story, the game beats, is when your cats go on adventures, we will also have the mini games in this. And I do mean probably fairly mini, like a simple infinite runner, or perhaps a memory game where you're flipping over cards, stuff like that. Basically using this as sort of a staging ground for trying other small game ideas. And you can play those games and try to get like a high score or finish them really fast. And each time you do that, the adventure that is associated with those things would happen faster. And that allows the players, so while this does have an idle game mechanic to it, it allows the players to do something actively while those idle events are going on to speed them up. Not, which I think is much more interesting than just, you know, here's $5, make it faster kind of thing. And the hope is, if everything goes well and people like the game, that we can continue to add stories beyond the figuring out the mystery of the mansion, because generally speaking, every location that you or the Moosecats will visit is a location that sort of, much like the rooms of the manor, they defy sort of real world logic, and yet there's a suggestion that they exist in the real world, which is always something that I've liked, and I enjoy that in movies that do it, even though it's kind of a cliche at this point. But the idea that, like, kind of like Men in Black, where there's this entire world that everyone is oblivious to that's going on around them. Yeah, so if we don't have just straight up an arcade room, which would be actually probably the most obvious way to collect them, I was figuring, like, if you did the cooking minigame, for instance, you do that by clicking on the kitchen. Or if you wanted to, yeah, I guess, like, because I would really love to even make some really dorky physics games as well. Like skee ball. I think that'd be fun to try and make that work. I genuinely have no idea how I would, but yeah. So that's the general gist. And I think I've got the scope somewhere reasonable so that it won't take a billion years to finish, which has been a problem before. There's also the previous iteration of this project that I was working on is based on an island that you build yourself and then put buildings on. And that's actually, there's a lot of functionality there that's already done. And so if this does do super well, I may take that idea and port it as sort of an expansion to this one so that you could have both games in one over time kind of thing. Sort of like the expansion, well, I consider them expansions, but the content that was added again to Stardew. So you've got the incubator, you get it from the store, return back to the main manor room. You can then use the incubator to incubate, shocking, the egg you got. This will add a progress token to the right of the screen, showing how long until the egg hatches. At this point, you will get... I'm presuming maybe we'll just keep getting them from the... Oh, actually, this would be kind of dorky. One of the Moosecats gets an exclamation point over their head and takes the note from you, flipping it over. On the back, you find another adventure page taped to it. How did you miss that? Cool. So the next adventure, so we've got, you know how to see adventures, you know how to add Moosecats to adventures, you know that when they come back from the adventures you get items, you know that there are separate maps that you can go to, you know that you can get new Moosecats through incubation, you probably suspect that you can also just get some back naturally through adventures, but I think that's actually something we should do concretely and show. So how do I want the pages to be? Okay, so the adventure book will glow on the UI, because I find that glowing UI, people always click on it. Clicking that will open the adventure UI. Some slick animation to show the addition of a new adventure. Sending the Moosecats on this adventure. It'll probably take as long as the incubating egg, assuming they pick it up quickly. So you start the adventure. Now you've got the Moosecat egg that is timing out or counting down, and you have the adventure that is currently going on. When this adventure completes, if the egg is finished, it won't actually... Like, I'm thinking, do we care if one happens before the other? Probably not. No. Okay, so... whenever the egg finishes, you can hatch it. MBD, welcome your new friend to the world. Once the adventure finishes, the Moosecats return with a new full friend. No egg this time. And I'm wondering what kind of first room, maybe like an overgrown forest, sort of to tie into that forest you visited the first time. So something that's crossing my mind is it might be cute to have the rooms be added through items that sort of capture the essence of that room. So in the case of, say, the like rainforest or foresty room, you could have a little plant that needs to be watered, and when it grows into the room. And if it's the ice room, then you just like put down a block of ice or something along those lines, and it could unfold or expand into the room. I think that would make for a fun visual. Maybe the magma room literally starts out is a little volcano that, you know, expands into the room. Obviously, that would need to come later visually, because we would need to make those things. But I think it's a cute concept. And... or would they just give you a blueprint to the room? Kind of like the magical quality better. And a seedling of some kind. Grandfather will suggest placing the seedling somewhere around the main room. We will highlight the cells directly adjacent to the main room. At any time, you can select these. Oh, actually, hold on. Once the egg has hatched, if it hasn't, before this adventure is done, trigger dialogue from Grandfather. He will note that the mansion is getting awfully full. He will suggest placing the seedling somewhere around the main room with a sly... I'm probably not spelling that right, but that's fine. With a sly grin. Because obviously he knows what's going to happen, you don't. Once placed, the seedling will start growing on its own. Again, add a status token to the right side of the screen. Action item, add cell hints. Building cell hints. Working click zones. So I'm thinking when you click on one of the glowing cells, show a small UI for selecting a room key item. Yes, I think that's good. So once placed, the seedling will start growing on its own. So for the non-mythical rooms, those will be the ones that will require materials. Things like building a basic kitchen, or building, like you mentioned, if we have any kind of arcade room or a man cave, building your bedroom because your character is going to want a bedroom. That'll probably help them recover quicker from adventures, that sort of thing. Those things would require normal human materials. Okay, so at this point, you could send any of your Moosecats on the current live adventures. They'll bring back whatever from the adventure drop tables. When the room finishes, I believe we now need to move into assigning Moosecats to rooms, which we have the code for, but when the room finishes, we should probably not randomize that first egg. It should probably give you some kind of forest cat. This first cat should be a forest-type cat of some kind. When the room finishes, the camera will focus on it, and we'll see the final foresty room. Your forest Moosecat will get an exclamation point and run over to the room. Clicking on them will bring up the assignment menu. Assign the Moosecat to this forest room, and they'll get a cute little heart over their head. Cats that are put into rooms or assigned to rooms that they like will recover quicker from adventures and have some other benefits that we haven't necessarily ironed out yet, but once the functionality's in, like, you can add it at any point, so it's not a big of a deal. Okay, so now we have the first, also they're not stuck in those rooms, or ideally is what I'm planning. They can walk around the entire place, but they will generally gravitate there. Assign the Moosecat to this forest room, they'll get a cute little heart over their head. Grandfather will note that. And until you do open this room, so until this room is made, no further Moosecats can be made. Current limits are 4 kitties per available room. And I think I made the grid such that there's room for 100 rooms, which then means that there's room for 400 Moosecats. Obviously, you could have repeats if you wanted, but that's the current state of things. Once it is made, Grandfather will note that we now have space for more friends, and he'll... Oh, this is a good point to bring up your... Oh, of course, yes. Obviously, there'd be clicking on them would do it. I'm guessing once we do have an avatar, pressing space near them or something like that. So the initial plans for this game are, I'm focusing on PC, but I do want to have a mobile version, and I want to... I haven't figured out which service I'll use for this, but I do want to have cross-save, so if you're playing on one, you can just switch over to the other whenever. So if you want to leave the house and play while you're walking, or while you're out shopping or something, you can do that. And then when you get home, as long as you save there, you can then load it up on your PC. So, but on phone, obviously, you'll be touching with your finger. The challenge there is when we go to do the phone version, we have to make a custom UI for that. Most of the controls should translate pretty well, because you'll just, when you click somewhere, the character would move towards that, or if it's a UI thing, if you click it, it just works, so I'm not too worried about that. So yeah, once it's made, grandfather will note that you now have more space for more friends. He will also hand over a little badge congratulating you on... Do I want to do that yet? Basically, I'm trying... The level system for the character will be your adventurous level, or something along those lines. And I'm wondering when I want to introduce that. I suspect that'll be once the... Maybe that's what... Yeah, we'll do that once the player is allowed to start going on adventures. And the adventures you can go on will be determined by that. And each time you send out Moosecats or build rooms or anything like that, it'll probably all feed back into it for unlocking more and more mechanics. But I think, let's see here, how many more action items do we have? So this is an action item, egg, progress, token. Item, glowing UI, although that's not too hard, but... Action item, new Moosecat, reveal and naming UI. Because obviously you'll be able to name your little furry friends. Once the adventure finishes, Moosecats return with a new full friend this time. Naming / nicknaming. I haven't determined yet if the ones that come back fully grown accept names, or if they just have them, or if they have a name and then you can assign them a nickname, but we'll see. Okay. So we've got the seedling, this will be the trigger, and just getting awfully full. Action item. Action item, add room key item UI. Once the place you start growing again. So for the growing thing, we'll probably just have it do for now, have it do a scale tween. And then once it reaches some arbitrary size, I'll just flip the sprite, or not sprite, flip the 3D model we use for our plant just over to my basic room for now. And we'll just make it green. Yeah. So we actually, earlier in this, it was one of the first things you'll have to do is feed them, because they'll go to the grocery store and bring back food. But one of the plans is, once the cats have gone on a few adventures, I don't know how many, but it'll trigger them being hungry. And so then you'll need to make them food. And if you make them food, potentially, I don't want to, this is not guaranteed, but potentially if you make them a specific kind of food that they like, that'll have a bigger effect. And as long as they're fully fed, then they'll go back out on adventures. Because it would seem weird not to have feeding in a game that's based off of a cat with an insatiable appetite. Alright. Plus, it gives us an excuse to eventually have a Moosecat with a little chef hat on, and I think that'll be great. Assign the Moosecat to, let's see. Action, item, Moosecat, room, assignment, menu. Action, item, add in, item, Moosecat cap. So let's see, got a few more minutes before I end for the night. So at this point we have a new room, we've got new space, you've got 4 Moosecats, potentially some more eggs have come in that you could then go and get incubating. I think it would be cute to have some of the adventure pages be out and about on the map. As a note, have some adventure pages randomly hidden on the maps, on the manor map slash town map. So at this point, once you've sent out the Moosecats on another adventure, they will bring back what will be the next mechanic that we will go through. I guess it would be, to your point, feeding. They will come back hungry. Grandfather will point out that Moosecats do not go on adventures while hungry. If they did, they are liable to eat everything they see. He'll tell you to go to town and get some food for your little friends. Now you might say, why not send any of your extra cats out, but it doesn't have to make sense. Go into town and tell the grocery store owner that your little friends are hungry. Hi, Artemis. They'll give you some food to bring back to them. Yeah? You coming up? No? Cute. It's so perfect. Oh, I don't know. It's gonna be so bright. Yeah, I can't see it because of the light. Hold on. Let's see if I turn off the light. I know, Artemis. Life is hard. We gotta focus? Yeah. She agrees. Thank you. Okay, so go into town and tell the grocery store owner that your friends are a little hungry. Actually, we don't even need them to give it to you. This will open up the grocery menu. Action item! We love these. Make a grocery menu. Grocery store menu. There will be a few items on the menu that happen. Oh, where is this? So I actually have an idea here. They will come back hungry with a few moose coins, along with other items. This will reveal a new UI element, your moose coin count. Strangely, the grocery store takes moose coins for food. Convenient. What a convenient store. Okay, well, bye Artemis. She just wanted to come make sure I was doing my work. Okay, so now we've revealed the currency in this game, which is moose coins, which you actually may have noticed you earn by watching the stream. That's called cross-promotion or something like that. Let's see, do I actually have that showing on here? I do. Currently, Liz has the most moose coins, but you're up to 5, so you're getting there. I have no idea who Commander Root is, but they have a few. Geez, 1,300. Dang. Okay, I'm staring at pointless stuff too much. Back to this. Bring back the food and give it to your hungry little fur babies. How do we have you feed them? That is a great question. Let's have the feeding menu accessed by either clicking on Moosecats and then the feed icon, or clicking on food. Or do I want to have two or just one? I'm thinking if you click on the food, we could bring up a feed menu that shows all the cats that you could feed, and then you could feed them that way. Maybe we'll just keep it at one, so for now. By clicking on the Moosecats and selecting the feed option. Action item, add feed UI to Moosecats. Also, add info pop-up to clicking on Moosecats and that. Okay, and then up here there's actually an action item that I missed. So when we send our Moosecats on this adventure, action item, hide Moosecats from scene while on adventure. Later, have them walk off the screen. Okay, so this will be the first thing we'll do tomorrow when we're working, is we'll add in the support to have the Moosecats vanish, because if we go back real quick before we end for the day, if we, well, first things first, let's get them back. So if we send, say, Moosums and Antlores on an adventure, they're still here in their rooms. Whoops. Hold on. Where is it? Alright, it's all the way down here. Kind of forgot that overlay UI is so big. Oh my god. Okay, hold on. Let's just do this the old-fashioned way. There you go. So even though we've sent them out on an adventure, we can see that they're still in their rooms. So tomorrow we'll add in support for making them temporarily leave, which won't be too much work. Basically, we can either do it by turning off their whoops, wrong things. We can either do it by turning off their renderers, or we can just turn off the game objects. So the benefit of turning off the renderers is that we can still send communications to them through events. So if we wanted to tell them to come back, we would be able to do so. Because if you turn off the full game objects, they can't hear things anymore. Yeah. Cool. So I think we now have a great game plan. I'm going to go through and, not tonight, but probably at the start of the next stream, we're going to go through and grab all the action items from this list. And we're just going to work on them one by one. And as we finish them, that will mean that more and more of this vertical slice of the experience will get finished. And if we keep doing that, if we keep chugging ahead and doing our best, it inevitably has to get done. Like, you can't work on something like this and have it just never finish. That's not how any of this works. So, yeah. I appreciate you visiting. If you want, I will start actually pinging, I guess, whenever I do these things. Because it's nice to have input. Nice to get sort of a feedback, because even our little chat earlier was super, super helpful. You know, for anyone else, if you watched here, thanks for watching here. If you watched it on YouTube, thank you for watching there. And as always, regardless, I hope you all have a nice day.